So I know this will be saved at the end. So for anybody who misses part of our conversation today, certainly feel free to leave any comments. We can continue over Twitter, as we all know best. Twitter is an awesome way to communicate.
For sure, especially in these times.
Yeah, it's funny. We were just I was just talking to some people about how amazing it is that we have the technology we do to be able to stay connected like this, especially during this time where Twitter is becoming such a powerful tool.
I'll tell you. I mean, for me, like I do not feel disconnected at all. I mean, granted, I'd love to see people, my colleagues and things, but in terms of my connection with other educators that I'm involved with, I've had a great opportunity to spend time with them, and that part's been terrific.
Yeah, definitely. I think that's one of the powerful things about the connection we can have over Twitter. Because I think, being stuck home, it kind of does make you feel more connected to people, especially when you can see them on video chat, and it's just amazing. Very thankful.
For sure. Yes, me too.
All right. So, we can wait a little longer, or if you'd like, we can start the conversation, and as people roll in, we can.
I'm definitely flexible. If you want to wait just a couple of minutes, maybe give a little more time for people to see it.
I am new to the world of Periscope.
Yeah, so Periscope is cool. So I guess I'll throw out a few things here. So there's something called Pass the Scope EDU. If any of our Pass the Scope friends are watching, where and in fact, if you feel like sharing it out and doing a hashtag Pass the Scope EDU, they do these things at like conferences and stuff where they interview people right there with Periscope and just go live. It's kind of a neat way that people on Twitter kind of follow these live things.
I have heard of that. When I went to ISTE, I know that was going on when I was here in Philly.
Here, I'll throw it out there too. If I even have the right hashtag, I hope so. I'm doing Pass the Scope EDU.
That's the one that I recall.
Yeah.
I've definitely been on that hashtag engaging with some people before, so that's definitely it.
Cool.
Just sharing it out. I'm an awful typer and talker at the same time.
Right. I hear you. Me too. Oh, Andy Shea just joined us. Hello, Andy. It's been a while.
I know, I expect that when I say something to someone, they'll be able to talk back, but...
I know, well, luckily we have people who, if they're at the keyboard, they can type, or on the phone, but Andy did just say hello. So, hey, I would like to say that I'll see you at a conference sometime soon, but I don't know how soon that would be. Maybe November, maybe ISTE. So currently ISTE's postponed till the end of November, which is really interesting because it's the weekend following Thanksgiving. So it's like Thanksgiving's Thursday, Friday, and then ISTE kicks off that Saturday to Tuesday. So, thank you. So providing they don't have to postpone that further, that might be the first time a lot of us get back together.
It's going to be one heck of a party, right?
Yeah. I wonder how we'll handle that. It's so interesting. Like, even in a case like that, like, what would that mean for the sessions and for the after events? Like, are people just going to forget this was all a thing, or are we still going to try to limit how many people are in a place at a time?
Right. Yeah. That's something else that I see Andy's making a comment about it now. Something that I wanted
we should talk about that. Yeah, definitely. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I have a lot of thoughts on that.
I also, before we jump into our conversation, I was hoping that I could share a little bit about just introducing. I know everybody. I mean, how do you not know who you are on Twitter? You've got quite the following, and we're very fortunate to be on here sharing this with you. But I was hoping that I could give just a little blurb as a background to our followers as well, and then you can help fill in the gaps, just so we can highlight, why we're so happy to have you here. It's definitely an honor. So
Thank you.
before we start, I would like to do that.
Sure.
So I don't know if you wanted to wait a little longer, or we could keep just chatting and then.
Yeah, I mean, it's up to you. I'm totally fine. I mean, we could jump in. Like you said, it'll be recorded too, which is helpful.
For sure. And I think more people will hop on as we're chatting.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I just wanted to thank everyone who is watching this now and will be watching it in the future. This is the first of hopefully many PledgeCents go live with various guests. And we are very, very thankful and fortunate to have Steve Isaacs hosting us on his Periscope today. We are very excited to have Steve. He's been teaching since 1992. And very well known in the area of ed tech. We know you really well for Minecraft. I know you've been doing that for several years, and you're actually one of the first of the 5 educators around the world who are selected to pilot the Minecraft educational program.
Mm-hmm.
You are one of the original Minecraft Global Mentors. And you're also the lead content producer for Mindfair, which is the official North America Minecraft community event. More recently, we hear a lot about Fortnite from all the kids who love it, and you brought Fortnite creative mode to your classroom, which I think is super cool, tapping into something that really engages and gets kids fired up and excited and bringing that into your learning. You were also the recipient of the Epic Mega Grant, love that name, for your project. Scalable game design, Fortnite Creative to Unreal Engine, which is helping to bridge the gap from products like the Creative Mode in Fortnite to Unreal Engine, which is an industry standard game engine. We know you well for being a pioneer in using VR, augmented reality in your classroom, and also for being a champion for student voice. And providing a choice-based environment for your students to really help nurture their passion for learning and putting it in their hands. We know you as an active ed tech influencer and community builder on Instagram, and a leader in game-based learning. And you're very actively involved in building the K-12 to college esports pipeline. And you also co-founded the Esports EDU community. And most recently, you were honored as the 2016 ISTE Outstanding Teacher and the PBS Digital Innovator representing the state of New Jersey. So you have quite a few accomplishments that you should be really proud of.
Thank you. Thank you. It's many years in the making, but thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much for being here with us and hosting us on your Periscope. We're definitely thankful for that. So today we really wanted to dive in. We had this idea. We have a lot of educators on our side over here, and myself, I guess I should introduce myself. I'm Heather, the social media manager over at PledgeCents. I was a teacher in the public classroom for a few years before going back to graduate school. But my passion really lies with, helping kids get, not just kids, but also the educators getting the materials that they need to bring experiences to their classrooms, and really putting it in kids' hands, giving them the opportunity to take control of their learning. That's really important to me. So seeing everything that's been going on and having my heart rooted deeply in education, I really wanted to come on and just foster a conversation about all the changes that are happening, challenges that have been faced, as well as looking at the silver lining in all of this, because there definitely is one. So to open it up, let's keep it positive and talk about some of the opportunities that have come out of this situation.
And there have been, without a doubt, gosh, on one hand, when you talk about the silver lining and opportunities and things, I think, we were sort of forced to push things a little bit further with technology, not necessarily to try to use technologies we were not familiar with, but certainly to leverage those that we were, and in a sense expand upon that with things like, a lot of teachers are meeting their students with Zoom or Google Meet, and these are things that can in some way or other carry on beyond all of this. I also, one of the things that I've been doing, which has been really fantastic, is I've been working with Mike Washburn at Participate, and we've been live streaming. So I teach game design and development, And
Mhm.
one of the things I typically would do in class is demo different, content creation tools. And now, because of this, every day we've kind of committed to streaming some different aspect or different tool that relates to content creation. So um, we've had many awesome guests on. So I've had like professional, game designers, um, educators. Even today, you were talking about student voice earlier. We had a student present something this morning, which was awesome. So that's been exciting. And then the byproduct of that is that it's very easy to take one of these live streams and immediately export it to YouTube. So I've already developed a library now of about 28 um, videos that will now stay there forever that I can continue to use with my students. They are a continual resource for my students and for the greater education community. So I think from that perspective and constructivist learning, I think there's so much happening that's really exciting right now. Even on these live streams, we have a lot of educators that are and students that are watching, and they can all interact a bit, and it provides that opportunity to learn with and from each other. And on a similar note to that, um, one of the things that Eric Leitner, my wife Kathy Chow Isaacs, and I have been doing is we've been creating Minecraft build challenges to create opportunities for students. Again, this becomes global, right? So we have a Flipgrid uh, build challenge. It's called the Minecraft COVID-19 Build Challenge, and it's flipgrid.com/Minecraft COVID-19. And kids from all, and even adults from all around the world are contributing on 6 different topics. So we have like a build challenge on build your dream home, your dream quarantine home, build a future medical facility, inform the public, where people are creating museums and libraries to teach about COVID-19. We have one that's an entry or escape room. So they're creating like an escape room concept um, to help somebody get into the bathroom to be able to wash their hands, which is very important at these times. Um, and one of them is also build the model of COVID in Minecraft. So we have some really neat models of the virus that are actually being built in the game, as well as a Minecraft COVID Rube Goldberg challenge. So those, have brought in entries from all over. And the live stream this morning featured one of my students who blew us away because he created the inform the public museum. And basically, I learned more in an hour this morning about COVID-19 than I have through all the news that I've watched. And this student walked us through. And the interesting thing is, for his Flipgrid submission of this, Flipgrid, for our project, you're only allowed to submit a video that's 3 minutes in length. So, in order for him to take us on a tour of his entire museum, he had to break it into 13 different videos. So he submitted 13 videos, like part 1, 2, 3 through 13, to show his world, which is really neat. So, those are the kinds of things that I think are opportunities that we're seeing. So I mean, I'm all about optimism and things, and the reason why we're home is far less, is not good, but the some of the byproducts that will come out of that, I think, will push education further, let us see and consider new thoughts and ideas for education. I've been a big proponent of education reform for years, so some of the things that I've always thought might be interesting, we now are kind of trying out. So, there's a lot going on for sure.
That's incredible. I absolutely love that idea with Flipgrid and just really that completely encompasses project-based learning, and
Right.
it's so important because it's one thing to just write about it. It's one thing to just do an assignment or something in class, but it's another to actually need to go create and then talk about your creation and actually walk someone else through it and explain it in your own words,
Absolutely.
which I just
Um,
think is so powerful.
in fact, another one that we just launched, and this is really exciting. we are working with the NHL and especially the Anaheim Ducks and a few other teams that just got on board. And we created 3 build challenges for something called the Minecraft Face Off. So kids are creating either a logo or a variation on a logo for an NHL team in Minecraft, or they're creating a jersey, like their own take on what a team's jersey might or could look like, and finally a future hockey arena. So we've been having a lot of fun with that too, and in that we've been able to get prizes in, like I think the one of the winners is going to get to have a Zoom call with one of the Anaheim Duck players and all sorts of other cool stuff. So yeah, so we're trying to really um, just create these opportunities. And that one we're doing with NASEF, which is the North American Scholastic Esports Federation. And I happen to be part of the Garden State. So Chris Aviles and I recently became an affiliate of NASEF for New Jersey for the Garden State. And there's also a Florida affiliate. So we're working together. NASEF, which is a national or actually international now organization with some of the affiliates to create these challenges. So it's been really great to start to build these kind of relationships and partnerships and work together on creating these projects and things.
That's awesome. Yeah, and that's definitely one of those silver linings that comes out of all this, because sure, these things, there are educators, there's a lot of educators out there who are doing things like this, and I know that you're like in the forefront of sharing about it and being very vocal on social media about all the awesome things you're doing in your classroom. But I think it's just with the nature of how things are going right now. It's like all of a sudden people are thrust into this
Yes.
online environment, and for some people, I know I have a lot of friends who are in the classroom, and even I'm in my late 20s, and I have a lot of friends who are in their late 20s, and they weren't even doing these types of things in their classroom, and they feel like it's a little bit of a sink or swim sort of situation. So I think it's really powerful that we have models out there like yourself who are really taking the time to highlight all of the incredible things that you can do and can access. And it's just a great opportunity for these kids, where a lot of them, some kids they learn in different ways and they demonstrate their learning in different ways. And this
For
really
sure.
gives some of these kids who wouldn't have had an opportunity to demonstrate their learning in this way, just like another avenue to do that. And I think that's really powerful.
Thanks. Yeah, and it is, and I mean, it also does. You do bring up the idea that this might, like, we're trying to find ways to reach, I think, different types of kids. There are certainly challenges, like I kind of wonder what it's like for a lot of kids with special needs that receive a certain level of support in school that are not able to receive that on the same level as we're home. So there are definitely you know there's very positives that are happening, but there are real challenges, and we can't ignore that either.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Um, okay, so yeah, that's definitely a big opportunity that came out of this for you. And just to expand on everything that you've been doing, if there's anyone out there listening, I know that some people are watching us through the video just that's on the Twitter feeds. If you have any questions or comments as we're going along, we are monitoring on Twitter if you can't get on and comment on Periscope. So if you have anything to add, please feel free to reach out at PledgeCents, or you can reach out to Steve at Mr_Isaacs, and we will be sure to bring all of that up for you here on our chat. So of course we can always, I'm sure we're going to be talking about silver linings woven in throughout all of this. I see Steve also shared on a Twitch there in the chat. But let's talk a little bit about some of the challenges
Mm-hmm.
that we've faced in switching from face-to-face to distance learning. And in fact, for a lot of people, it was very, very abrupt.
For sure.
So what kind of challenges have you personally seen? And if anyone else wants to add in, again, feel free to reach out on Twitter in the chat and let us know.
Yeah, so for me, I mean, Gosh, that's such a great question, such an important one. One of the biggest challenges I'm finding, and I would love to hear what other educators who are watching are thinking and feeling, and if they relate to this or have their own challenges. But for me, a lot of it is the amount of sort of accounting for student participation in this online environment. Like, in other words, I have my students complete a Google form every day. We switched our class currently to an A day, B day, our schedule to an A day, B day type thing.
Okay.
So our kids have half of their classes on the A day and then half their classes on the B day. Um, Part of it is to give them a little time in between to do the work, but also so that they can know where to put this focus. And we also don't want to overburden kids. When we were starting to prepare for all this, it was this mentality, which was kind of interesting to hear, was, okay, everything you think you're going to plan to do, okay, cut that in half and then cut that in half again.
Yeah.
So we're trying to be careful to have kids, be accountable, learn, do productive work. We need this time to be valuable and meaningful, which is a challenge because we're moving to this new sort of paradigm. So in my class, my kids, it's a choice based or quest based environment, so it lends really well to this. Fortunately, however, it's still the interesting thing is trying to get both hold kids accountable, be sensitive to their needs, but also take the time to, like, I find myself. So I was saying before, my kids fill out a Google form every day that we have class, and they indicate what they accomplished that day or what they worked on, how challenging it was for them, what they plan on as a goal for the next day, whether they actually submitted an assignment or not, and any questions they have for me. So it's a great way for me to go through at the end of the day and check who was technically present for class. We use that as attendance, what they accomplished, what questions they have. And the nice thing is, because I'm reading this in this form, right when I come across the questions, I can respond immediately by email. But the amount of time that I'm spending going through who submitted what, who didn't participate, emailing the ones who didn't participate to remind them that they need to be present for class, even though we're not at school. To me, that's been a huge challenge. So I don't know what other people are finding. I'd love to see some comments come in about that, because I think it's really helpful for us all to share what those challenges are, because they're very real. So that's one of the ones for me. Another one is, I think there's a it's a little more challenging, so I'm giving, um, oh gosh, great question, Andy. So what about challenges for educators who aren't as tech savvy? That's where I'd love to hear, of course, other people out there, because it must be, I mean, that's got to bring a huge level of stress. Luckily, in my school, I think all of us were using in some form or another Google Classroom. So we kind of used that as our go-to. The idea there also was, don't involve yourself in learning new technology necessarily to accomplish all this. Use what we already are comfortable with. But I agree with that there's got to be a huge thing. A lot of teachers I know are trying to have either office hours where they can meet on, like, Zoom or Google Meet or things like that. But that's definitely tough. For me, the other thing I was thinking was kind of a challenge for me personally is, I want, like, when I'm in school and I can kind of talk to kids and give them verbal feedback, that's another layer or level of feedback. Also, like, the work, the quality of the work that's being submitted, some of it's incredible and I'm like blown away. Some of it is less, does not quite meet the expectations. So it's a little more labor intensive to give a lot of like, I always give feedback written anyway, but there's a little more to that because I have to give feedback, then, you know, wait till they see it to then resubmit something. So there's just a little bit of a process there that I find to be a little more like that we're losing a piece that is really helpful when we're there together and I can sit down and talk to a kid and say, so here, let's look at this, why don't we elaborate on this or whatever. And I do that in writing, but I think we're missing it's nice when we have that FaceTime to do that. And we could do that
Absolutely.
through Zoom, but it's it would be almost like conferencing. It's interesting to see how to best do that, I guess.
Yeah, I love your idea of the Google form that you use at the end of class, especially because um, you've done this with your kids are very integrated into all of that, so the transition to doing that online from home, I'm sure, was a little more smooth in your situation. The Google form is great. I really love how you include an opportunity for them to reflect on what was successful, and really taking the time to actually write that out and having to think about it, because as we know, reflecting on your performance and how you feel you did actually helps you learn, and being able to put that into your own words and then identifying goals for the future, I think, is really powerful. But yeah, I'm also really interested, for those teachers who aren't very tech savvy. And I mean, I know in my experience now, I'm doing,
Hmm.
speech therapy for the kids. And I really had to dive deep into Google Forms and Google Classroom, and just even for me, and I'm, like I said, I'm in my late 20s, so I
Well,
grew up surrounded by tech, and it still can be intimidating.
yeah, what I'm hearing a lot too, which is a little disconcerting, is certain schools are saying no, video, like no real-time video interaction with your students, which is really tough. Some, so there's that. Then, of course, there are these issues with the technology. I mean,
Yep.
some of the Zoom ran into its challenges early on that I hope they've resolved from privacy and safety standpoints. But those are challenges. And then you were talking about speech pathology. When we were talking the other day, I shared that I have one of my good friends in my school is a speech pathologist, and initially he was told, because of, I guess, all the different safety, privacy issues, he was not allowed to do face to face, and it's so important for him. I mean, how can you teach speech without
Yep.
having that conversation? So I haven't talked. I have to reach out to him because I'm hoping that has changed, because otherwise, I mean, these kids are not receiving a very important service. So, and you said you're using a form of teletherapy that is approved and
Yes.
and such. So maybe more schools are adopting that.
Yeah, and that really opens, I mean, this conversation we're having in so many different ways, but that opens up a whole other can of worms for those kiddos who need the special education services, and how, you know, which really leads me into my next part. We talk about the challenges that we are facing on the educator end, speech pathologists, school occupational therapists, physical therapists, teachers. Um, but let's, what about the students and their families on their end? I think a lot about those families now who are trying to work from home. Um, how are how are they balancing it with other kids in the house? Everybody needs to get on Zoom and use the internet at the same time. Like, how do we combat
Right.
that?
That's a great point, and such another huge challenge that people are, and what technology do they have, and what internet connection do they have? There are a lot of families where if they have one device, they're lucky, so they're sharing that throughout the day. And that piece about parents that are also trying to work at home, all of a sudden you're hoping to have your productive day at home, and now you're also homeschooling your children essentially, with the guidance of the educators. But especially for younger kids, um, I'm really lucky. My my I have two daughters. One is 20, and she's home from college and has been because of this. So it's been wonderful to have her at home. She's also very self sufficient. She just wrapped up her college semester from home. And my other daughter is 17, and she's a junior in high school, and she's been pretty self sufficient with hers, occasionally asking for help. Um, my nephews, I have twin nephews that are 7 years old and a nephew that's 10. All of a sudden it's becoming this, almost full-time thing, for their mom, who definitely feels like she didn't sign up for this. um, so all of that, and especially if you're really trying to work, like I'm talking to people who have talked about different strategies they're trying to have, where each parent takes time to kind of isolate to work, and then they switch. I guess the whole world has had to be compassionate and understanding of that. So luckily, most employers are understanding. Even as an educator, um, you know, I'm working full time, but they've been very clear that we understand that there are other things vying for your
Mm-hmm.
attention and whatnot. So that is a tricky one. And gosh, what it really makes me think about is when we go back, what is it going to be like? And I'm starting
Yeah.
to read articles, and it's very likely that for a long time we will not fill up schools like we're used to. So imagine you're a parent that's supposed to go back to work, but your kids either aren't back to school yet or are on some drastically modified schedule, and you now have to think about daycare in addition to trying to physically be at work and things. So I think those challenges are things we're going to have to, as a culture and society, really rethink so many
Yeah.
things. I mean, all I can imagine is that for some parents that are working at home, they're going to have to like split time and have one parent work by day and the other in the
Yeah.
evening. And like, I mean, that's nothing that is what they want their schedule to be. That kind of thing.
Yeah, definitely. So keeping it, so that we can give everybody who is watching and will be watching this at some point um, some sort of insight into maybe some things to keep in mind. Like it's a lot. It's overwhelming to think about all of this and the future. And what I try to do, my whole motto is, it's important to think about the future, but I'm also trying to live in the moment and
Sure.
take things as they come and just do what is best for not only the students that I'm working with, but also for myself. Because
Definitely.
it's so cliche, but at the same time, you can't pour from an empty cup. You have to take
No.
care of yourself. So what would you say is one of the most important pieces of advice that in all of your years of experience you could give to maybe some newer educators, some younger educators, or just anyone really who needs to hear some sort of something
Yeah.
inspirational to keep them going?
Well, I mean, the self care piece is huge. I think everybody's trying to factor that in. I think some of the little weird kind of. So I find that I'm working as hard or harder than ever, right? But I'm also finding that as a family, we're starting to come together more in the evening for like very designated downtime. So we'll have dinner, and then I've watched more like TV shows or movies with my family in the evening during this than we have in years. So when we're in our regular schedule, I'm getting my daughter home from practice at like 7 o'clock. We eat a quick dinner. We often get back to some form of work. So I think that's hugely important. And I hope that a lot of people are doing that. My family's been trying to get outside and take walks together. So it's like we've developed this like kind of like, luckily it's sort of happened organically, but we each have our own little room that we do our work in when we're trying to focus, and then we come out periodically and we reconnect, and that getting out together for that walk is really great, having those kind of things. I've taken a habit of I, some people who know me know that on the rare occasion that we have a delayed opening, I absolutely love it because I still get up and out at the same time. But those are the rare times that I have some time in the morning to have my coffee and watch something that I want to watch on TV. So I've been continuing that. So I'm getting up, at pretty much my normal time, but giving myself an hour in the morning. That's the time I would otherwise be either commuting or whatever. So those things are very important. Connecting with other people. That's what I love about our professional learning networks and personal learning networks. My friends, I've been playing games online with friends,
Mm-hmm.
communicating with them that way. So I feel like if anything, I'm having more time with those people than I usually could. And that is definitely my peer group. So it's really about finding your community, relying on your community, sharing that stuff. Like I mean, I go through these weird feelings where I could be feeling great, at one point in the day, and then all of a sudden hit this low because it's like starts to feel like Groundhog Day again, and then I get some work done and I feel okay again. So there's a different whole mood cycle, and all of that. I think we just need to understand that we're not alone in that. But I really think that I hope that people are understanding the importance of self-care and all this. Oh,
Yeah.
Andy has a great question there. So, how do you maintain this balance when things go
Yep.
back to normal? So, and Mr. Washburn, I'm up at 6, work till 7, walk with wife till 8, stream with Steve, busy mornings. But that for me, Mike, that's been one of my great connections in all this. So I'm enjoying that time that we have together. But Andy, I hope for myself that I take some of this with me as we go out of this, because I am one who takes on too many projects, and I love them all, but I need, but I've been loving this, what I've created here as sort of some of this downtime. So I hope a lot of us learn from this the importance of that, and maybe take that away from it. That would be wonderful. And maybe that's part of this, is like kind of coming to this, like,
Mhm.
reassess our lives and what's important to us and things like that.
I love that. And that, like I said, silver linings were going to be intertwined today because I believe you can always find some sort of silver lining. And that's really what it comes down to. For me is I try to take things as they come and just know, as long as I am giving my very best, the best version of myself when I show up to my students on the other side of the screen. I think that that's all that you can really be expected to do, is do the best with the situation that you're in. Because know that on the other side of the screen, there are things that are just out of your control, and
Yeah,
you can do everything that you try to support them, but sometimes things are just out of your control, and you need to be the best version of yourself for your students, for your family, and also keeping in mind, like you said, all of that, looking at the silver linings, you're finding innovative ways to be connected with your peers. And I think it's important to take that with you.
yeah, and one thing Mr. Washburn, Mike, my good buddy there, just pointed out in the chat is, he said, one of the things we could be doing is building this awesome foundation of things that will continue after, and I couldn't agree more.
Love that. Definitely. That's like, I feel like that's like a quote that should be
Yep, we
put
should make a
on some sort
meme.
of image.
Put Mike Washburn's picture on it with that quote, and we'll tweet it all over the place.
Definitely. All right. So we were talking a little bit about considerations that we should keep in mind when we start the transition back to school, whenever that is. Um, let's talk about we can kind of combine talk. We've talked a lot about how the community has been very supportive online. I see a lot of resources being shared, which has been awesome. I know, like, Teachers Pay Teachers has opened up a lot. A lot of people on there have shared a lot of their resources they've created. Time for Kids, like, there's been a lot. What are some things that maybe you have found to be really helpful during this time, or any resources, maybe something new that you've tried, or anything that you found?
Yeah, well, I mean, people are the greatest resource. So, like the people that I've been interacting with, and I'm so grateful for some of the guests that Mike and I have been able to have. I've collaborated with people like Eric Leitner, who I've been fond of for a long time. He and I and Mike and I have been spending so much time together, learning with and from each other. A lot of these things we've been doing, where we brought guests on, like, I get to kind of take a back seat and learn from these amazing people. Like, we've had Adam Clark, Stephen Reed, Bob Irving. We've had so many. We've had one of the developers from the game Eco on with us. We've had one of the developers from Gone Home. So a lot of us are collaborating and doing these constructivist things, like we're having a Gone Home game study where we're talking about this game and how it could be used in education. So for me, the best resource has always been the collective mind. So I'm tapping into that more than ever. But there are so many great things out there. Like I've been seeing, just a lot of webinars that are available. A lot of I've been trying to. I've always wanted to be learning things like Unreal Engine is something that's been on my list of things I need to learn for my own professional development. So I'm taking a Udemy course right now, which has been great. So it's like I'm trying to find that time to use this for some professional learning. All sorts of things like that. There's and in fact tonight, I think it's at maybe 9 o'clock. There's the Ready Learner One VR Lounge. They've created this virtual reality space where they have guests in VR, but you could also do it from your computer in something called Alt Space VR. So you can sit at your computer and be part of it, or you could be in a VR headset. So just so
So
many neat
cool.
things, you know. So there are things that we're able to learn and expand our learning and try and all that. There's another thing. Tuesday afternoons, I was only able to attend one so far. I'll try to pop in today. It's something called Pivot to Learn, and Brian Sanders in California is bringing together a group of educators each week just to talk about our changing educational landscape. I mean, how great is it to get together with other educators and just hear from them and share these ideas? So that's probably it, and then the internet was made for learning. So the tutorials that I can find for anything I want to learn, the starting to dabble with some more content creation tools that I've been meaning to, that now, like Game Fruit is one that we had one of the developers take us on a walkthrough. Cray, which is a really neat game design engine. So it's like these things that I don't have time for, and I still don't really have time for, but I'm finding that I'm able to kind of expand my learning through all that.
Absolutely. And you shared some awesome resources. So maybe after the call, I'm making some notes. We can maybe compile a list that we can share with some of these links, especially the links to your YouTube videos, just to make sure people can
Yeah,
find
and
those.
in fact, I'm dropping that right now because every session that Mike and I do at 9 in the morning, I put right on my YouTube channel in a COVID-19 playlist, and we're up to about 28 hours worth of content, like each session with a different topic or a different guest or a different tool. So there's a lot of stuff there. I'd love for people to benefit from that, and that's the other thing. It's like I think I've always been a huge fan of the contributing to the greater learning community. And look at how many people are doing that right now. Like Stephen Reed's been streaming some cool Minecraft education stuff. So every once in a while, when I'm in the right place at the right time, I'll be able to enjoy that and learn from him. I mean, I don't know. I love learning. Um, that's to me, a joy. So that's one of the biggest things that I'm being able to hopefully use this time for.
Yeah, definitely. And again, that's going back to that silver lining is we're being so innovative with carving out little pockets of time for ourselves because it feels like we have to, right? Like we're teaching, we're working, we're teaching, we're doing our home life, our relaxation, like everything, workouts,
Yep.
all under one roof.
How so that's a good question too for people for workouts. Like I said, I've been walking a lot, but I've also been playing a lot of Beat Saber in VR, and we've been having a great time. Some of my friends on Facebook and Twitter and whatnot that are you get these notifications when somebody beats one of your records. So I'm having a lot of fun with that competitive part and just trying to beat Jesse Lubinsky and some others out there. But it's been, so we're even being innovative, I think, in how we exercise.
Yeah, definitely. And it's just I think that there's something exciting. Like you said, we're using this to find creative ways to engage with our peers, to help kids engage with their peers and with their classrooms. And I just think, if we can take anything out of all this, it's that it's like kind of like a refresh. Like we're being refreshed, we're learning new ways to do things, we're being very innovative, and these are all things that I think we need to make sure we carry over this spark once we start transitioning back to the classroom, which I also know that when we finally get back to the classrooms, it's going to be also this just real rush of appreciation for everything, like all the little things that
Yeah.
we took for granted. Simply just being in your classroom, seeing your kids face to face, like all those silly little things, being asked what your favorite dinosaur is 3 times, you know what I mean, throughout the session,
Yeah,
like
definitely.
those
Definitely.
silly things, and you just miss them. The little things that bring you a smile in the moment also make you a little crazy, but I think that we'll all appreciate that a lot more.
Yeah. If I could throw one other thing out there that just occurred to me is, like we have after school clubs and things, and esports right now, it's one of the few things we can really continue outside of school. So it's another one of those weird ones where some schools started by saying no after school clubs. We did bring all of our clubs online. So my students have still been able to compete against other schools. We have our game club meetings where we meet in Google Meet, but then also play games, on Steam or what have you. So, remember wherever there's the opportunities that are easy wins. I mean, that's a big one for our kids. Like they're missing that desperately. So where we can connect with them, like my daughter is on the track team. Now their whole season has been pretty much lost. She's still going out and training, and luckily her coach is interacting with them with like training routines and stuff. But that's the part I think that we're missing so sorely, is especially for her. Like I there's nothing better than that team, experience and things. So when you say appreciate those things, that's going to be one of the things we're going to appreciate so much when we go back.
For sure, for sure. And I know we're coming down to the end and starting to wrap up here, but I did want to just circle back to the comment about conferences like ISTE and like
Oh, right.
how do you think, when we do finally get back to that,
Yeah.
how will that be impacted?
Well, that's a great question too. So a couple of conferences that I was already very excited about. So South by Southwest EDU was just plain canceled, unfortunately, and
Yeah.
a bunch of others were. ISTE was postponed to November after Thanksgiving. Hopefully, they'll be able to pull that off. I don't know if they'll have to try to create an environment that encourages social distancing or cut down certain aspects of it, or maybe put much more of it online so that people who have a choice not to attend. But even some of the conferences like Serious Play Conference, which is one that I really love, and the Games for Change Conference, both of those, they've already made the decision to go fully online. Um, One of the nice things, I believe, maybe for both of those, but for Games for Change, they've made it free, and it's usually, it's a fairly, it's a kind of an expensive conference, at least for teachers to attend. But so that'll be free this year. I know that the Badge Summit that Noah Geisel runs, he's doing it online this time. Um, I think at a very nominal charge, probably just to help with whatever administrative type stuff. But so there will be some that go fully online. There's a tabletop, I think, game design or something conference. Somebody just pointed out to me that this year will be online. Now, I will terribly miss the face-to-face interaction at conferences, which is my favorite part. But at the same time, a lot of these learning opportunities will become much more accessible, and people will choose this approach. So I'm very interested to see. I think it'll feel like something's missing, but at the same time, maybe with more people able to attend. Andy asked if I'm planning on going to any. I'm already scheduled, to present at Serious Play, so I'll continue that. I'll engage as much as I can. I don't think I'll sit in front of my computer all day and go to all the sessions. I think I'll be much more selective, and maybe other people will too, which is not a bad thing. Because hopefully the sessions I do attend, I'll be real excited to participate in. Um, but yes, so I will do that. I'll do Games for Change for sure. They have an XR for Change summit as part of that. I will participate, but like I said, I think I'll be selective because I find it hard to to just concentrate on a session in front of the computer if it's not something that's really, got me, really inspired or interested.
Awesome. Well, thank you for sharing all of those as well. Definitely, I'm making notes for myself of different conferences that I want to keep on my radar.
Yeah.
But it will be interesting, and I think again I keep trying to go back to silver linings, but one is certainly that more people will be able to access these resources that maybe they weren't able to before.
Right.
There's definitely always a silver lining, but unfortunately, it will feel like something's missing,
Yeah.
especially if ISTE is, um, who knows? We don't know
Yeah.
how this is going to change in the next couple months.
And I will start to go to conferences again when they start having them, if that was another sort of part of the question. Like I'd still rather be there. I do think we'll all be a little leery of, just being a little more cautious. I think Andy just asked also, what will the classroom look like? Gosh, everything I'm reading sounds like things like having kids, like perhaps taking everybody's temperature on their way into the building, definitely a lot of hand sanitizer. Some people are saying kids will be washing their hands at the start of the day and then every 2 hours or something. I think we'll have to do something to provide for social distancing. So I don't know if that means that we'll have. I would love to see a hybrid model where, you know my students, let's say students go in on an A day B day type situation, so we have half the kids in the building at a time, and we teach face to face, say one day, and then the next day is them working on the content from home. For my class, that's what I've always envisioned anyway. That would be the best of both worlds. I'm not crazy about this fully online part, but I think having my kids there to have guidance every other day, but then working and getting my support outside of class on that other day would work perfectly well. They are going to have to do. Some people say kids will be eating in the classroom. They wouldn't have everybody in the cafeteria together. I mean, it's crazy. Like class sizes was always an issue. So now are we going to have to cut them in half? And so it'll be very, very interesting. Some people are talking about maybe having several sessions in a day, like you go either from the 9 to 11, 12 to 2, 3 to 5, and then in between, I don't know, do they wipe down the entire building? I don't know, and I wonder. I'm curious to. So we're going through this now until we feel like COVID is not an issue at all. But even after that, are we going to be? Is there going to be a change in all of this? You know, just because our whole mindset has been
Mhm.
forced to change at this time. I don't know.
Yeah, definitely. I don't think that it's possible to know right now. It's just
Right.
going to be taking it as it comes because we don't. I mean, this could change in the next week.
Right.
And I think it's just paying attention to what's going on and trying to make the decisions that are going to benefit everyone and be the best for the students' learning and also everyone's safety. So, time will tell.
It will.
All right. Well, we are coming to a close here on our time. Um, did you have anything else that you wanted to share or talk about before we wrapped up today?
I think we covered a whole lot. I mean, people are welcome to reach out to continue this conversation on Twitter. Maybe if they tag me and PledgeCents, we could continue any kind of dialogue around this conversation, because I think it's interesting and I think it's but I just hope that we talked a lot about the positive, and I think there is a lot of positive opportunity. Um, I think the circumstances are are troubling, but but that's the part we need to also be able to say, hey, we're in this situation. What can we do to live our? I think you had said it, live our best lives or be our best self and things like that.
Absolutely. And I think that, that's one of the most powerful things we can do right now because another thing I always used to tell, or it's not used to, I still tell the students I'm working with is we have no control over what's happening in the world and we can't control somebody else. But what we can do is control how we react to things. We can control our mindset and how we choose to view a situation. And I think that that is one of the most powerful things that you can carry with yourself,
I agree.
and knowing that you can do that. So, all right. Well, our conversation for everyone who's listening, and again, we'll be listening in the future. We'll get this downloaded, and we'll make sure we share it online. I'm hoping to get it up on Instagram TV if possible, just to get it out to as many people as possible. And like Steve said, we'd love to continue this conversation. We'll do more chats like this moving forward, and really facilitating this because the whole goal is to really bring together educators so that we can continue to help each other and share ideas and get through this together. But thank you so much, Steve, for having us. Super appreciate all of your time today and you're just taking the time out of your day. I know you've got a hectic schedule over there as well. So
Well, it was
we
a
really
pleasure.
appreciate it.
No, anything for you guys.
Thank you.
Sure.
All right. Well, we hope to see you again on here soon, and we'll definitely be talking. But hopefully, we also see you at a conference. Hopefully, we can
Yes,
all get together and be in person.
I hope so.
All right. Thank
Thanks,
you
Heather.
so much.
Thanks.
Bye.